We couldn't ride by Bamburgh Castle without mentioning something about it. Bamburgh Castle was gifted to Claudius Forster in 1610 by King James I. The castle had become a nuisance to the king, so to honour the long-time service of Claudius as royal castle keeper, the king gave it to him. It had been a royal residence for over 1200 years and now became privately owned. Sadly, but perhaps not surprisingly, it soon became an uninhabitable ruin. The castle and its estate passed to Dorothy, the last heir of the Forster family. She was married to Lord Nathaniel Crewe, Bishop of Durham. On her death he set up a charity in her memory to restore the castle and provide for the residents of Bamburgh village. The castle became a pharmacy, an outpatient surgery and hospital, and provided a free school for children of the poor. The crops of the villagers were ground at the castle windmill, and meat, milk and coal were distributed. During this time, the castle was in the hands of the Crewe trustees, directed by Dr. John Sharp. In his hands the castle also became a coastguard station, thought to be the first of its kind in the world. A gun was fired in foggy weather, and a watch system and beach patrol were set up. Also, enormous chains of iron were ready to haul struggling ships to safety. Eventually, the trust also struggled financially and sold the castle to William Armstrong, but he died in 1900 and never saw its transformation into a gentleman's retirement home as he had planned. The castle is still owned by the Armstrong family and has been lovingly restored into their family home. They welcome visitors, host weddings, events and holidays, so this amazing castle and its history can still be enjoyed by all.
It say time-wise?
It doesn't. We were just going across. Everyone else is going across, so we are. That guy wasn't in a rush.
Fair way away.
Yeah, it says do not proceed. This is the refuge that people have to take, and this is the worst bit.
Yeah, as long as we go there and back.
Yeah, we're more than good. Yeah. Very good. Oh, this is amazing.
Yeah, you've never been here before, have you?
No.
It's incredible.
Absolutely amazing. time of day to do it as well.
Yeah, stunning.
The day had already exceeded our expectations, and now this. The weather, sunset, atmosphere and ambience captivated us. We had set off at sunrise and were still riding at sunset.
Lindisfarne is intimately connected with the history of Christianity in Britain. In the year 635, the Northumbrian king Oswald summoned an Irish monk named Aidan to be bishop of his kingdom. Oswald granted Aidan and his companions the small tidal island of Lindisfarne on which to found a monastery. Following the general collapse of Roman military rule in the early 5th century, Britain had fragmented into numerous small kingdoms, many ruled by Anglo-Saxon warlords. By the 7th century, Oswald's Northumbrian kingdom dominated Britain. Oswald's gift of Lindisfarne, 6 miles up the coast from Bamburgh, to the monks from Iona enabled them to establish a monastery.
That's how I remember it.
Sometime in the 670s, a monk named Cuthbert joined the monastery at Lindisfarne. He eventually became Lindisfarne's greatest monk bishop and the most important saint in northern England in the Middle Ages. As prior of Lindisfarne, Cuthbert reformed the monks' way of life to conform to the religious practices of Rome rather than Ireland. This caused bitterness, and he decided to retire and live as a hermit. On the insistence of the king, however, Cuthbert was made a bishop in 685. His new duties brought him back to the world of kings and nobles. Cuthbert died on the 20th of March 687 and was buried in a stone coffin inside the main church on Lindisfarne. 11 years later, the monks opened his tomb. To their delight, they discovered Cuthbert's body had not decayed, a sure sign, they argued, of his purity and saintliness. His remains were elevated to a coffin shrine at ground level, and this marked the beginnings of the cult of St. Cuthbert. which was to alter the course of Lindisfarne's history. Miracles were soon reported at St Cuthbert's shrine, and Lindisfarne was quickly established as the major pilgrimage centre in Northumbria. As a result, the monastery grew in power and wealth. The cult of St Cuthbert also consolidated the monastery's reputation as a centre of Christian learning. One of the results was the production in about 710 to 725 of the masterpiece of early medieval art known today as the Lindisfarne Gospels. On the 8th of June 793, Lindisfarne suffered a devastating raid by Viking pirates. The raid was physically and psychologically devastating. One of England's holiest shrines had been attacked by pagans, and St Cuthbert had not intervened to stop them. In response to the threat of Viking raids, it's believed that the Lindisfarne monks retreated inland during the 830s, and that in 875 the decision was made to leave Lindisfarne for good. After 7 years of wandering, the community, carrying St Cuthbert's coffin and the treasures of Lindisfarne, settled at Chester-le-Street. In the year 995, St Cuthbert's relics were moved again and eventually enshrined at Durham, where they remain. In 1069, the Durham monks returned to Lindisfarne. This brief return heralded the establishment of a permanent cell of the Durham community on Lindisfarne. In 1537, the priory was closed as part of the dissolution of the monasteries on the orders of Henry VIII. The buildings of the priory were not dismantled at the Reformation, probably because they proved useful to the Crown's defence strategy in the north. By the later 18th century, the by now ruinous remains had become a popular tourist attraction for antiquarians and artists. Drawings and descriptions of the priory show that until about 1780 the church survived virtually intact. By the 1820s, however, the central tower and south aisle had collapsed.
Great, isn't it?
Yeah, it's awesome.
This time in our history was a significant factor in the establishment of Christianity in our homeland and eventually beyond. In the 11th century, Lindisfarne was renamed Holy Island after Saints Aidan and Cuthbert. The idolisation of these men resulted in pilgrimages that still take place today. This veneration is not only unnecessary, but a hindrance to the central message of the Gospel.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Don't think we'll intrude anymore.
No.
sun was setting and we were within sight of the Scottish border. In previous episodes, we were genuinely doubtful we could do it by the end of the day. The opportunity to cross Lindisfarne Causeway and visit the Holy Island was just too good to miss. Our desire to do it and still get to Scotland clouded our judgment, and we didn't pause to consider the tides properly. The water seemed a long way out. We knew it could be misleading, but believed we could make a quick tour of the island and still get back across in time. Join us next week to see what happens.